Hi all, I have quite an interesting game to show you, just played today, between the young Super Grandmaster Wei Yi, he was playing black actually, against another young Russian player, well slightly older though, at 28 years old, so 28-year-old Russian Nikita Vitiugov, playing against Wei Yi. Let's have a look at this game. D4 from Vitiugov, and we have knight f6, c4, g6, g3, c6. Black is going for a fixed center rather than a fluid one, so there's light square control rather than a dark square strategy. Knight f3, d5, queen b3, putting some pressure on d5 and b7. This is quite an unusual approach actually here in a live book. Usually bishop g2 or knight here. There's more than 200 games with bishop g2. This is only like 31, and a5 we're kind of nearly out of book already now after a5. Both players are presumably, they don't have too many stem games because there's none in live book. So c takes, and we have a4, and the queen just goes back. C takes d5. So the question here is, has black created a potential weakness on a4? Is it actually useful? Bishop g2, bishop g7, white castles, and black doesn't routinely castle here. This is quite interesting from a structural perspective. Black actually plays knight e4, so he's ready to pounce on knight c3 potentially, with the option of taking or just leaving the knight there to sort of pressurize white. And in fact, after knight c3, he just keeps the knight there, knowing that on taking it will actually unleash a lot of pressure on d4. So white's position, although it looks as though white hasn't done much wrong, black seems to have nearly like fully equalized here. And the a4 pawn, you might think, well, actually why isn't that a problem here? Why isn't it a concern? Actually, let's just check this out actually and add a Kbita. If knight takes a4, probably, okay, queen a5. So putting pressure, and it's actually difficult here. If b3, b5, and this position looks to be a good gambit position for black. Lots of pressure here. I think there's enough compensation actually. If e3, yeah, black's got great pieces in this position. This looks very awkward, so that'd be a good gambit for the pawn actually. So yeah, it wasn't taken. So instead we have e3, and it looks as though black is absolutely equalized against his Super Grandmaster opponent. So Vitiugov over 27-20, very high rated. So let's see. Black just castles. Very comfortable position to have with black. We have knight d2, and now black does inflict some structural damage. So we have an isolated pawn here, which might be significant. This structure here is a bit weak on the light squares. In fact, c4 might be useful for black on this semi-open file in particular. That's strategically important, surely. Queen a5 hitting c3 and keeping an eye on d5. Rook b1. Black doesn't want to take on c3, losing d5 here. He actually hits the rook, offering b7. Very interesting decision already, very dynamic. It makes black's pieces jump into life actually. The rook does take. Bishop d3. We have rook e1. And now just pawn down, but fantastic piece activity. And you see that actually here, after taking black for the pawn, has got very, very nice compensation. And it's awkward what to do about c3 in any case. How does white actually defend c3? That's dropping. White plays actually bishop a3, a counter-attacking move of sorts, or is it? It's getting the bishop out, sure, but it's inviting queen takes c3. What's the idea? Queen c1, protecting the bishop and also skewing against the knight. Is this a problem? Black just plays queen a5 here. Both queens are looking at these two knights here. So a dynamic equality of threats. Rook d1 was played. We have rook c8. And it looks as though here that a move like bishop a6 will then mean the rook's protected. That's useful for knight d4. Or bishop e2 could be useful first, and then bishop a6. White plays queen c5. And now we have e6. And black is very, very comfortable supporting finally his d5 pawn. And bishop f8 might be useful just to try and encourage this queen exchange and get the rook down there. This is done now, in fact, anyway. Queen takes a5. If white tries to say, well, the rook can't move in any case because of queen takes d2. So what does white actually do here? He seems to be in a difficult position. Black's pieces are very, very nice. So queen takes a5, knight takes a5, and black's in the driving seat, not just equalised, he's actually potentially slightly better here. We have the move bishop f1, we have an exchange of bishops, and now black uses the same idea for this exchange of bishops, bishop f8. Is there anything clever here like rook c1? Well, white actually took on f8. If he plays rook c1, black actually has a strong move in this position, it seems, in knight c4. So if knight takes, bishop takes a3, and that's a piece. It actually wins a piece. Ouch. So this is actually a very strong move, and if takes, then that's a disaster. Knight takes d2 check and winning the rook after. So it seems in this position there's no rook c1. So in other words, it seems this rook is destined for a very painful entry point for white. So bishop takes f8, king takes f8. What does white actually do? Very simplified position. Now you may wonder, why is kingscrusher showing this game? I just think it's fascinating. The light square strategy is a killer strategy. It's not the classic King's Indian dark square strategy. So we have a light square strategy with the invasion point c2, just crystal clear, clinical, clear cut. What does white actually do in this position? He stands significantly worse. If he allows this entry, then a2, and this is an outside pass pawn. And we see in the game rook b1, rook c2. The knight is attacked, leaving this knight behind. So black just gets an outside pass pawn. And you might think, well, is this drawish rook and pawn ending? Let's see how the game continues. Fixing down white's pawns there. a3, king g2. King's not coming to the other side. Here, a2, king g2. Now we see the move f6. The rook's tied down, of course. Anytime it wants to take, then there's like check and then queening. So we have h3, e5. So with e4 in the cards to further restrict the white king. King f3. In fact, e4 check isn't played here though. There might not be too much wrong with it. I don't think it loses the advantage too much, but in fact, keeping some options open, king e8 is played. White could, if he takes, he's giving black another potential pass pawn in the centre. So black's also got the option, not just e4 but e takes, to isolate this pawn. We have king g2, and now Wei Yi just goes with his king to try and chase this rook. And that's pretty straightforward to kick the rook. This position, now the king comes up the board. So how is this actually drawn? If white ever moves the king here, he didn't do this, then rook f1 is queening or winning the rook. If takes, we take there, winning the rook. So white's pretty tied down. He's just waiting for this king to come up there. He plays king f3, and after king c6, there's also another problem. If that wasn't winning, that black can just take here first to weaken this pawn and then also get the king to attack d4. White actually gave up here. Let's see this final position. He actually resigned here on move 40. Say he plays king e2. It seems accurate is taking here and then king b5. So black's going to be playing either king b4 or c4, both are lucrative. So here, king b4, king c3. This would definitely guarantee the win, surely. Just taking this pawn. This is a massive advantage now for black. He's got another passed pawn. It's going to be a slow grind. I don't think white can do anything about this. So yeah, very well played it seems. Yeah, not committing to that earlier e4 as a possibility, but because the king, when it's aggressive, that would be good to collect that pawn on d4. So yeah, a nice win. 40 moves after king c6. Wei Yi. He recovered actually in the previous round of this event. He lost to Peter Svidler. He was playing with the white pieces. So he bounced back and still he's won 2 now, lost 1. So still gaining VDA rating points in this very, very tough match, China-Russia match being played at the moment. I thought I'd quickly show this. I hope you got something from it. It shows, you know, great versatility and strength. And yeah, a light square strategy and this very aggressive kind of gambit idea to get all his pieces activated with interest. He was the first down on the invasion point, picking up a key pawn, creating an outside pass pawn, keeping the tension of the pawns in the centre, getting his king aggressive, guaranteeing the win. It seems if you look at it from an engine perspective, actually I checked stats on the site, very, very highly accurate gameplay by black. Very accurate play, and it just gives an aesthetic impression. Wow, this is a player that can play really great chess. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.